All right, let's get right into it. Building an AI agent. It sounds incredibly complex, right? Kind of like something only a whole team of experts could pull off. Well, today, we're cracking open OpenAI's official guide. We're going to turn what seems like this massive technical challenge into a simple step-by-step blueprint that, yeah, anyone can follow.
So, we've all gotten pretty used to chatbots. You ask a question, you get an answer. But this is the next big leap. We're moving from AI that just talks to AI that actually does stuff. Imagine an AI that doesn't just tell you how to book a flight, but actually goes and books it for you. That's the world of AI agents.
So, what exactly is an AI agent? At its core, it's a piece of software that can reason, make decisions, and then take actions out in the digital world to get a job done that you've given it. And the key thing is, it's not just following some rigid script. Nope, it's a real problem solver, working for you all on its own.
Here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to look under the hood at the core parts of any agent. Then, we'll get practical with the 3 key steps to build one: picking the brain, adding the tools, and writing the mission brief. We'll wrap it all up with a real-world example before I hand the blueprint over to you.
You know, every AI agent, no matter how sophisticated it seems, is really built from the same 3 fundamental parts. Think of them like Lego bricks. And the way we assemble them, it actually mirrors how we humans approach tasks. We think, we interact, and we follow a plan.
And this is it. This is the universal architecture for any agent. You've got the user with a goal, the agent ready to get to work, and the components that make it all possible. This is the fundamental blueprint we're about to deconstruct, starting with those 3 core parts. First up, we've got the brain. This is the large language model, or LLM. Think GPT-4. It's the engine that does all the reasoning, the planning, and the decision-making. It analyzes the task, breaks it down into steps, and decides what to do next. It is the core intelligence of the whole operation.
Okay, but a brain's not much use if it's just stuck in a box, right? It needs hands and eyes to interact with the world. These are its tools, which often use something called an API. Just think of an API as a universal remote control that lets the agent operate other software. These tools are what allow it to perform actions like searching the web or sending an email, connecting its decisions to real-world outcomes. And finally, the guidebook. These are the instructions you give the agent. This is where you define its role, its goals, and its rules of engagement. It's the mission brief that tells the brain how to use its tools. Because just like with us, a smart person with skills but no clear goal is just, well, untapped potential.
Okay, time for our first practical step: choosing the agent's brain. The model you select is a huge decision, It determines how well your agent can reason and solve problems. So where do you start?
Well, OpenAI gives us a golden rule here. Don't start with the cheapest or fastest model. Start with the most capable one, something like GPT-4. Your first goal is just to prove that the task is even possible for an agent to solve. Once you have a working prototype, then you can start to worry about making it more efficient. This whole approach is all about being effective before you're efficient. First, you establish a performance baseline with your best model just to prove it can do the job. Second, you focus on hitting your accuracy targets. And only then, as a final step, do you optimize for cost and speed by maybe swapping in some smaller models.
With the brain selected, it's time for step 2, giving your agent abilities. This is where your agent goes from being just a thinker to a doer. Tools are what allow it to break out of that chat window and really interact with other systems.
Broadly speaking, tools fall into 3 categories. You've got data tools, which let the agent retrieve information, searching the web or a database. Then there are action tools, which let it actually change things like sending an email or updating a customer record. And then there are orchestration tools, which are fascinating. They let one agent use other agents as tools, basically creating a team of specialized bots.
And you might think this is super complex, but using OpenAI's software kit, this is all it takes to give an agent 2 powerful tools: the ability to search the web and a custom function to save the results. It's surprisingly straightforward to give your agent these kinds of superpowers.
All right, we've reached the final and maybe the most important step: defining the mission. Your agent has a brain and it has tools, but without clear instructions, it's just potential. The instructions are what shape that potential into reliable, predictable performance. This quote from the guide, it's everything. Make instructions unambiguous and robust to surprises. See, it's not enough to just say, be a helpful assistant. You have to anticipate what could go wrong and give the agent a clear plan for what to do when it gets stuck or sees something unexpected. The crucial point here is to be specific. A really good prompt needs 4 things. First, define its role. You are a role that does task. Second, give it a process, a clear step-by-step plan. Third, set constraints. These are the things it must never do, like guessing facts. And finally, give it guidelines for when it's unsure, basically a life raft for when it gets stuck and needs to ask for help.
So let's put this all together. We have the brain, the tools, and the instructions. What does this look like in a real-world example? Let's check out the blueprint for a customer service system that uses multiple specialized agents.
Now here, we're not just building one agent, we're building a whole team. You can see the definitions right here for a technical support agent, a sales assistant, and an order manager. Each one gets a crystal clear one-sentence mission. And an orchestrator agent, which isn't shown here, would act as the manager, routing customer questions to the right specialist. This is the blueprint in action.
So, if you remember anything from this, let it be these 3 things. 1, for the brain, always start with the most powerful model to prove your concept actually works. 2, for the tools, give your agent the hands and eyes it needs to take action. And 3, for the instructions, be obsessively specific, clear, and safe.
The components are simple, the steps are clear, and the possibilities are, well, they're practically endless. From a personal assistant that manages your inbox to a research bot that summarizes the day's news for you. The fundamental blueprint is now in your hands. So the only question left is, what are you going to build?